Atomfall is one of my most anticipated games for next year, and not just because I'm actually in the game, but at Gamescom, Bex and I got to sit down with the developers to see some new gameplay and ask all about how and why they built an apocalyptic adventure in the British countryside. Check it out.
It's mystery mixed with folk horror weirdness, all set in a not-so-idyllic post-war British countryside, and believe it or not, it's based on a true story. Really? Well, here with more on Atomfall, please welcome Creative Director for Rebellion, Ben Fisher. How you doing, pal?
How you doing?
Welcome to Germany.
Thank you.
First time here, or?
Been here for Gamescom before.
Yeah. But not with a game quite like this, right?
No, let's talk about that, Ben. Actually, you're right, Henry, because this is a huge departure from Rebellion's most famous series, let's call it Sniper Elite. Can you tell us about this sudden change of pace here?
Sure. I mean, it's similar and it's different in different aspects of the game. So we always value sandbox exploration and giving the player lots of freedom in their objectives. But at the same time, this is a survival action game with some sort of RPG-ish elements. There's skills, there's crafting. The story of the game unfolds as you explore. It's kind of a mystery game, so tonally quite different to Sniper Elite.
I love the exploration side of it. I mean, from what we just saw in the quick trailer, there's a lot going on. It's not just one sort of trope that you're sticking to. There's a lot to unpack. So maybe as we're checking out some gameplay that you brought along that we can experience, we can jump into some of the influences that have made it into this title. Because, like I said, it's a lot going on here, man. So let's check out some of this gameplay as well. You've got to start off with a post box.
Yeah.
Where else?
I mean, it's on your T-shirt as well.
Yeah.
It must be quite a core feature of Atomfall, I assume.
It is, actually.
Ah.
So, as you explore the world of Atomfall, you're uncovering a mystery. You're discovering what's happened in this post-apocalyptic quarantine zone in 1950s north of England. Different characters will ask you to do things for them, and they might help in return. And one of the characters that you can interact with is this mystery phone voice. You don't know who they are, you don't know what they want, and you have to choose which characters you trust and don't trust in your exploration.
Kind of like Bosley, Charley's Angels vibes coming through the phone.
Yes, exactly.
I like that. That's cool. Speaking about the story, and Henry, you mentioned it earlier. True story. Like, what is
Surely
that about?
Yes. Well,
surely not.
Yeah. It's based on real-world disaster that happened. The first major nuclear disaster in the world was in Winscombe in Sellafield, so 1957. We wanted to use that as a jumping-off point for a story. So Jason Kingsley, one of the owners and founders of Rebellion, observed that there are lots of games that are kind of like post-atom storytelling, post-atomic disaster storytelling, but none set around this first disaster that's happened in the world. So we took that as a starting point and then thought, what's a Rebellion kind of interpretation of that kind of event? So, like I say, we value that kind of sandbox exploration and player freedom, and then combine that with the sort of unique Britishness, and that led to the environment that we've got in the game. So it's kind of an alternate history story, and it's a mystery that you uncover what's happened. And as part of the process of building that game world, we looked back at 1950s storytelling. So references like the Quatermass series, which is one of the very earliest sci-fi serials, or like early Doctor Who, and things like that. So like UK TV Gold kind of cultural reference points that even if people don't know the reference itself, they know the influences that came from it. And at the time, there wasn't a clear distinction between like folk horror and sci-fi and those kind of stories. So it's a blend, it's a natural blend in the storytelling style of the 50s.
And of course you had to chuck some cricket bats in there for good measure. I mean, the combats are pretty crunchy, right? I mean, this is, like you say, a bit of a departure from Sniper Elite, which is typically long range, but in here we're getting right up, even the fact that it's first-person camera as well. Like, these are conscious decisions you've made. So why did it feel right for Atomfall to treat it that way?
So in the case of Sniper Elite, you are an elite trained sniper. Carl Fairbairn's like a human sniper rifle, right? He knows exactly how to fire a shot, miles to take out that one guy. This is a different character in a different situation. We wanted it to be a mystery, so there are no signifiers of age, race or gender for the player character. They're wearing gloves, so you don't know who they are. Their backstory is part of the mystery that you may or may not uncover as you explore. We wanted you to feel more like it's not so much a war zone as a pub crawl. You're desperately attempting to survive. There's not much ammo around. The guns are all rusty because everyone's been trapped in this quarantine zone for 5 years. You're mixing melee and ranged combat. You can throw your melee weapons. You can kick people to make them stagger back. We wanted you to be constantly, desperately mixing options and scavenging desperately for resources. So there's a real kind of tension as you play, which is very, very tonally different to Carl, who's calm and controlled and reads an entire situation before he decides what to do.
I think we can definitely get on board with the pub crawl element.
My entire playthrough is like it's a scene from Kingsman basically, and it's gonna feel good. It's gonna feel great.
Talking about Kyle and that he's an iconic character, what about the characters in Atomfall? Our player character isn't maybe so much of the focus, but are there other people that we're going to meet that are going to be key?
Yeah, so I need to have the right answer that doesn't spoil too many things, but as you explore the game world, different characters will ask you to help uncover the mystery of what happened in the Windscale plant and maybe ask you to do something when you get there. And if you do that for them, they might try and find you a way to escape this quarantine zone, or they promise to. So as you explore, you've got to decide who you trust and who you don't trust, whether you think they're telling the truth or trying to manipulate you, whether you believe the same things as they do. So it's all murky shades of grey. There's no good guys and bad guys, and it's all completely open to the player. So you could theoretically kill every character in the game, and there's still a way to finish the game. You could theoretically play through and kill no one, and there's other routes available to you. So we really pushed hard into giving the player lots of options and lots of rewards for observing and choosing what to do. So there's lots of tropish characters, lots of kind of characters that fit this world of being north of England, and also being 1950s, 1960s culturally.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, as a fellow Scot, Ben, really quick, are there any maybe Scottish people in there that we can look forward to meeting? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No spoilers, but what we have done is we've taken like 1950s sci-fi, 1950s, or like old-fashioned folk horror type trope characters and Cold War scientist trope characters, and you'll meet those kinds of people as you explore through the game, and then still decide whether you trust them or not.
Okay.
So we got pub rules, we got crazy characters. They're all living in this open world that we're experiencing. Can you tell us more about that? I mean, how did you construct it? How big is it as well?
Okay, well, what Rebellion excels at is these deeply packed kind of sandbox maps. So the way that we've structured Atomfall is a series of like 5 or 6, depending on how you count, sandbox maps like the one you can see just now. And you can travel freely between them at any time. They're all thematically very, very different. And then there's loads of interiors and like large-scale, story-driven locations that you might uncover, as well as bunkers that are full of loot that you might find. What we wanted to do is really lean into that densely packed kind of puzzle box. So I've spent all day watching people play the game, and no two playthroughs have been the same. People can approach it all very, very differently, get different experiences. As you explore the game, you'll find leads as well. So we don't have a kind of quest system. We've got leads that you piece together clues that help you understand what's happening. So we built this puzzle box, this sandbox of interconnected options for the player, and then we just let them go for it. They might find a difficult, dangerous place and die, but we signpost very clearly that it's a dangerous place, and then it's kind of up to them what happens.
That's right. I love a puzzle. I'm buzzing.
Yeah.
We're great at solving them together, to be fair.
Well, we could work on it. I mean, you just said that there'll be leads that players can follow. Tell us a bit about how they're equipped to do so, because we just saw like literally pulling out a metal detector and taking part in that great British tradition of finding some old coins or whatever it could be. But what are the other ways we can do that?
Yeah, so you might find a lead that someone's hidden in a box under the ground somewhere. They've a bit of storytelling around it to draw the player in and make them try to understand how it fits to the game world. But there's also characters that you might find in the world. There's friendly characters that you can barter with, and they might sell you or rather trade something with you which has a lead in it. Or if you do some trade with them, they might get friendly to you and give you a lead. You can also have conversations with characters, and if you might choose the right choices, you might get some more information from them. The way that we've approached those is the same kind of high stakes player freedom So you can get the conversation wrong, right? You're not working your way down a list of conversation topics until they grey out and then moving on to the next one. It works more like a real conversation. So if you judge their personality wrong and say the wrong thing, they might shut down and stop talking to you, and you've pruned a chain of leads that you might otherwise have found something interesting in the game world. So you're always having these influences and layers that you may even not notice are there.
That sounds so smart. I can't wait to dive into that as well. That's so cool. I understand there's some crafting elements in that as well, and also, metal detectors, scavenging. Can you tell us what that kind of looks like in Atomfall?
Sure. So the player's desperately trying to survive and finding materials to help them survive. Yeah. So even if they find a gun, there might be 3 bullets for the gun. So they can find materials that let them craft things to help them heal or help them in combat, so Molotov cocktails and makeshift grenades and things like that. So you find yourself trapped into a corner and you can make these resources that help you survive. Like I say, we're trying to make sure that we find this sweet spot where you feel kind of desperate as you're trying to survive. Because we want you to use everything that you find. We've made sure your backpack capacity is quite limited as well, so you're really pushed to make these difficult choices and decide even whether you want to engage in a fight or not, whether you want to avoid it entirely, you want to choose the right moment and try and take out 5 guys with a Molotov. It's all really, really high stakes, but it makes it very rewarding when you manage to pull something off.
It looks like our player right now is making a horrible decision by going into a restricted area. Already seen a ribcage. I mean,
I mean, so
this is going to go great.
Like I mentioned earlier, if you're heading into somewhere difficult or dangerous or scary, we make sure and signpost it. So if you go into a place like that and then you die, you go, I should have guessed. There was a skeleton outside.
Yeah, that one's on me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
To be fair, I'm very good at ignoring red flags, so we'll see about that.
And in terms of the player's progression then, so you're making all these decisions, you're making friends with everybody, you're crafting your gear. What about skills, anything like that in the game?
Sure. So there's a range of skills that help reinforce the player's ability to survive in this dangerous world. So there's a chain of skills that are for melee combat, ranged combat. There's sort of durability skills that mean you can take more damage and survive in dangerous areas. And then also abilities that help your overall survival, like disarming traps and things like that. So really we wanted to keep it grounded so that there's always that sense of threat and pressure, but we wanted to give you some advantages. So you might learn a skill that lets you throw a melee weapon, and if it's bladed, it'll stick in targets and things like that, just to help give you that edge over the course of the game. As you can see in this location here, they're in a kind of dark and then scary interior. So we've got the player's progression, but then there's also a kind of game world progression where they're uncovering a mystery. So quite literally, they have to push deep into the world and into the underground of the world to find these dark and scary places. We try and keep it tense the entire way through the game.
I was going to say, because there is the sci-fi element, but there's a bit of horror vibes I'm getting too. So with us competing with people maybe on a top level, and now we've got into this bunker, there must be some monsters of some kind.
Yeah, we just saw a little glimpse of something scary and monstrous, and as you push into the mystery, you will find more elements influenced by what happened. But yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said earlier, the storytelling style of the 50s and 60s didn't really have a division between folk horror and sci-fi. There was like a blend for a certain kind of story that was addressing the Cold War, but in a way that wasn't too political, I guess. So, folk horror stories are about the division between rural and urban civilization and how there's a tension between them, and Cold War stories are about fear of the outsiders and others and that sort of thing. And there's thematic resonances between all of these different storytelling styles, which make it really easy for us to push into these otherworldly horror elements as you push into the mystery.
Nice. That's so sick.
We've got quite an atmospheric bunker, like you said, as well. Have you got a favourite part of the maps that you can share us with? Again, nothing. I'm really pushing it here, but any favourite place to maybe have a picnic or anything like that?
Well, actually, there is a favourite secret place which I can tell you about a little bit. So, as the player is starting the game, they're given one lead. A person tells them that the heart of this mystery is a location called the Interchange. So to begin with, you're trying to find this place, and as you make your way in, it's all unpowered, it's been shut down, it's been quarantined. and you push into it and open it up more and more, and it's like an unfurling flower as you find all of these leads that are the heart of the mystery. And the more you find, the more leads there are to find. So you end up in this kind of like snowball effect.
He's just picked up a Cornish pasty.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
stunning.
Well, this is pre-Greg's era, I suppose. So we'll take what we can get for now.
That's brilliant. Oh my
That's what
gosh.
meat's in it.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
It's really fun for me to see like the contrast between that dank bunker we just came out of, and then like the overworld is so lush and vibrant. And listen, I've been to the north of England. It's not always this green, so sometimes, yeah, exactly. I mean, I live in London, and it's just grey all the time. So any green I can get is good. But
It's the late district on a good day.
yeah, exactly. So will we see many other types of biomes or environments in the game as well?
Yeah, so one example would be there's a woodland nearby, but it has more of a kind of spooky folk horror-ish tone. As you get into it, it feels more mysterious and occult. And there's a group of kind of pagans that if you tread wrong, they'll cut your face off with sickles, you know. Yeah. Or you can find a friendly character who's sort of part of that group and talk your way into their compound. So we've given you all these different options to, you know, for whichever faction there are, ways to befriend them or get in a fight with them. Yeah,
I like
exactly.
that as well. Very good. I mean, I think we, especially at Xbox On, are super excited for Atomfall and to check it out and maybe even come across ourselves, because Henry and I and Charley have actually been scanned into the game, which we're very excited to maybe come across ourselves. Oh, there we are.
Yeah.
There's Henry getting his wee...
Yeah, I have to say it's maybe not the most flattering, methods of doing it, but what are you actually doing to me there? Because I just signed something and agreed to show up dressed as a big baby, and apparently that's for something. But
Yeah, no,
what
this
did
is
you
all
guys
just a
do?
massive scam.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought so. Yeah, thanks. What is it that you guys have to do to get someone scanned into your games? Because the realism is quite impressive.
Sure. So we go through a highly detailed scanning process of every angle of your face and different configurations. So we get wrinkle maps and things like that.
What do you mean? I'm perfect.
Of course, yeah. So we didn't bother with the wrinkle maps.
Oh, great.
So they're all assembled by character artists and rigged so they can animate. And then we, in the case of Atomfall, we then put that in a sort of character builder system. That means we can put costumes on the characters. We might grub your face up a bit because they've been surviving for 5 years without washing machines and soap. And then we just find exactly the right spot for each kind of memorable face in the game.
I'm definitely looking out for where I am. If I'm on an enemy, that's okay. I've always wondered what I'd look like if I had a cricket bat to the face. So this is great. And you're going to be getting scanned in pretty soon.
Yeah, I can't wait. As long as you put some fake eyelashes on me as well, then make that.
I'll make a note.
Yeah. Are you in the game as well? Have you been scanned?
No, I haven't been scanned yet.
Okay.
No. You have to shave a beard off if you want to get
Yeah, you had to do that.
That was fun.
Yeah.
It was just the beard that we had to shave. Right.
Yeah, the rest was optional.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whoops. Honestly, I cannot wait to play this game. It looks bonkers. It looks British as heck. And honestly, we're going to play it so much when it launches next year.
For more Xbox and Gamescom news, make sure to subscribe.